Accra, the capital town and largest city in Ghana, lies on a coast made up of many communities with a 2.3 million population. It is also the 11th largest metropolitan area in Africa. Similarly, Sekondi-Takoradi is another coastal city in the western region of Ghana with a population of over 559,548. To improve participation of slum dwellers of these metropolitan assemblies in governance, inclusive planning and budgeting process, and an increased capacity to generate revenue, the IncluCity project was launched in October 2011 with a $4 million funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The project has two objectives: increase constructive participation of slum residents in governance, inclusive planning and budgeting process in Accra and Sekondi-Takoradi Metropolitan Assemblies, and increase capacity of Accra and Sekondi-Takoradi Metropolitan Assemblies to generate municipal revenue. There were two main levels of interventions: citywide and specific in 59 deprived communities. Citywide interventions directly with city authorities and specific interventions directly with communities. Under its objectives, IncluCity built the capacity of key actors in the 59 deprived communities across the Accra and Sekondi-Takoradi metropolitan areas for enhanced civic engagement. Nimba Community Support Services, NIMCOS, and Community Land Development Foundation, COLANDEF, in collaboration with the NCCE, undertook activities in the form of door-to-door sensitization.
We looked at two broad areas of training. One part is what we chose to call inclusive governance. Then the other part is participatory planning and budgeting. And through this, we gave them capacity building in areas that will help them to demand more accountability for the assembly. As part of a program on governance, we are training them on also their own roles and responsibilities as citizens. If we look at the people, also tend to forget that assemblies only exist to collect tolls and taxes. But then we made them aware that when they take the money, they use it for various functions. So through the program, which was very participatory, because the people we selected were basically adults. So we chose various methods of adult teaching, mentoring and role playing and others, in addition to normal classroom activities, to bring them on board into some of these activities. The other good part of it is that we had a key assembly staff present in the training program. So there were better interactions, and sometimes we will allow each group to express themselves so that the other side will appreciate their needs and their misconceptions and all that.
So we started with capacity building training. We trained all the assembly members and the 35 selected communities. We trained the beneficiaries, key stakeholders, CBOs, opinion leaders, and traditional authorities.
It was two different workshops. The first one was in inclusive governance, whilst the second was in participatory planning and budgeting.
This helped the city staff to assist targeted communities in the preparation of community action plans, CAPs, which have been included in Assembly's medium-term development plans.
The Metro Development Planning Coordinating Unit, as part of the preparation of the new medium-term development plan for the city, these plans that we prepared in 2012 were integrated into the medium-term development plan of the city, taking into consideration their needs and their aspiration.
It's not just plan for incorporation into our strategic plan, but there are also plans for implementation, plans for even writing proposal to other donors to sponsor some of these projects. So no matter how small those projects were, they were very important and they were the felt need of the people. So yes, they have done it and we have incorporated it. So from the planning, it gets into the action plan for the year, and then it comes into the budget for.
Having trained and built the capacity of CBOs and city staff who have prepared community action plans, a motivational scheme known as the IncluCity Small Grants were introduced. The $2,000 small grants were awarded by global communities based on competitive process. NIMCOS and Colandef assisted the winning communities to implement projects captured in their caps and aligned with the AMA and STMA's medium-term development plans.
They apply and we do an assessment. An assessment team is what constituted, and after the assessment, those who will qualify for the grant, like I said, that 10 out of the 35 benefited in the first year of implementation. The second year to 8 communities also benefited, and they have implemented several projects ranging from toilet facility, water, community park, market structures. All these were, part of the initiative of the small grant.
The small grant projects is a component of the broad IncluCity program. And the main motive behind the project is to assist our project communities to implement some activities in their community action plans.
Series of projects have been completed under the small grant scheme, with winning communities contributing 50% in kind or cash to the $2,000.
Our records indicate that for every dollar we have put in the small grant scheme, the communities have put in $1.5, and through that we have over 60 small grants funded projects across the 2 cities. We also have the assemblies themselves now getting more used to planning and providing for these poor communities, because we have gotten them trained and working together to produce the community action plans.
Aseke is one of such urban poor communities in the Sekondi-Takoradi Metropolis. It hosts several satellite communities on Thursdays, which are usually market days. There was no market shed available before the coming of the IncluCity project. Through the small grant scheme, the community has won 2 grants to construct market sheds, which has remarkably improved market conditions.
Oh, first in a day. Now, market see ye do I am watching. Baby, I am better. A pataya better as in Shruta Yugum, a real by Yugum, until Yamanadum global communities will obey. No, Wabo Henma, Yenya, Shelly, and Sir, will do go young Harrigan.
I hired the Goya with that. It is a than they go determine Nudra, and Miss Alfred Wabano, or go you. In Shruta, or the Wapa baby now, walk a cassia. Into Yamia Doma, Colanda for Bayer the Madimahan, Wabohan. In Shruta, where your baby was she. A really fish away, baby, what's now?
Through the small grants, water kiosks have been provided. One of such beneficiary communities is Kansa-Urodo. The community depended on this water for household chores, exposing them to various ailments. With the water kiosk in place, women are joyful they now have access to potable clean water.
Actually, we're depending on Ghana water pipelines, and for the past 6 months to 8 months, the lines has been disconnected. So the residents around were found difficult to get water. If you look on the road, on the left side of the road, you see there's a water there which color appear yellow, and that's the water that the people were using as source of water for drinking, for bathing, for cooking, and so many things, which in fact was giving us a lot of health problems. So this system actually came to reduce the pressure with regard to water supply here.
Several other water kiosks have been built in selected 59 targeted project communities in both STMA and AMA. One of the most deprived communities under the STMA is Akromakrom, a beautiful village built on thatch. They have endured the challenges of accessing potable water. This was where they fetch water for their chores. Community members are now happy they have a borehole provided under the small grant scheme by global communities.
Yensu ayam na yakura ko hana ko so aswoman ntoanye na bohol na namna kwa na hirinzi obutu be ya pone ya itua ma yakota azet bebe siro ansa na nyi ofu so ba help ko na head na say zaka kuriya.
Another major problem facing the Akromakrom residents is an access route to the town center. The predominantly farming community is cut off from the other communities when it rains due to bad road network that leads to the main town of Takoradi. The road is under construction through the small grant scheme, and access to the town center will be easier for residents of Akromakrom. Based on their community priorities and community action plans, some IncluCity beneficiaries refurbish their outdated community libraries, thanks to the IncluCity Small Grant Scheme. One of such is the refurbished Kotobabi Cluster of Schools Library. The library is used during schools and on vacations.
At first, we did not have enough books. Global communities have provided more books for us and have developed my skills.
At first, the library was not good. There was not enough books here. But global community provided us more books for us to read.
The Kotobabi community has also utilized its small grant to provide street lights for the community.
So after the workshop, we did community engagement where we meet with opinion leaders, traditional authorities to identify our needs. So with the help of NIMCOS, we were able to prioritize it. And after the workshop, we won a small grant from CHF, so we implemented it.
The small grant under IncluCity has also provided and extended to the community Kumasi ventilated improved pits, popularly known as KVIP. Bakado and Osofukrom are beneficiary communities. Mustafa is an attendant at Bakado KVIP.
Oh, na tell tine na nso kromofo na unsa ahoho abem no mama yebuim ma wo ye bikan disisiade eye.
Improved sanitation is key to improving the standards of living in the urban poor communities. Waste collection becomes a priority, and IncluCity project has provided refuse collection bays for communities such as Butumejebu.
before na so what boy ngwa mfa mo bwa na wo twene ya ebegu park ndo nti yesi dam da na ma hon no se mfa mo bokra nwura no wo edan mu kwara.
In all, 60 projects have been undertaken under the small grant scheme, and these projects have impacted the lives of the urban poor. These incentives have led to communities working much closer with the assemblies, which have integrated projects from CAPS into their annual plans and MTDP, and developed 29 more projects in some of the 59 communities. The IncluCity project also instituted the Citizens Report Card based on the AMA experience at the Sekondi-Takoradi Metropolitan Assembly. Based on the CRC, a committee was set up with membership from the 35 deprived communities IncluCity engaged. The committee worked in 35 communities and has come up with 2 Citizens Report Cards, one in 2012 and a second in 2015.
What we do is to collect data from service providers and then the communities in order to be able to address some of the challenges where it faces the communities. What we normally do is trying to get to these service providers. We have about 10 of them: electricity, water, roads, ways, education, about 10 of them. And these are the thematic areas that we are working with.
Having provided training, capacity building, and provision of social amenities, the Best Assembly Member Award Scheme was instituted under the IncluCity project.
We set out to have this project that will help us to project the image of the assembly member. Because assembly members, they are paying for things that will amaze you, in addition to performing their legal role that the law sets out for them to do. So we set this out and we set up a panel. In fact, we set 2 panels, one at the assembly level and one at what we call the national faculty, which is hosted at the institute here. We have representatives from key partners like NALAG, from the institute, from the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, and from the institute, in addition to our partners, global communities. And first, when people are nominated, they go through screening at the various assembly level to assess the things they've said they've done. We assess them even on the number of meetings they've attended. We assess them on the community meetings they've organized. They will put in claims that maybe they've conducted a number of meetings with their various communities. We'll go and check all those things, and then we'll bring them together in an interview form, and then we'll discuss with them their appreciation of the system they are operating, and check whether indeed they have done the things that they've done. And out of that, the panel will award the overall best assembly member based on the criteria we set ourselves for each year.
Francis Donko, Assembly Member for Roman Ridge Airport Electoral Area, was adjudged the 2013 winner within AMA. His award was based on contributions towards the development of his community.
I applied with CHF. Then Institute of Local Government Studies also gave us a questionnaire, so we filled. And I was the chairman for Culture, Tourism, Trade and Industry. I served on PRCC, Public Relations Complaints Committee. I was an executive member, a welfare chairman, and an assembly member as well. So based on that, I was nominated. When I was nominated, they granted us an interview, and through the interview, they asked some of the development or the infrastructure development we have put in the area. And I took them around because in 2010, when I took over from my past assembly member, there were other projects which I saw that it was factored in EMA, but they were not coming. And it needs a vocal person or a transitional person who would fight EMA to bring such development to their doorstep. So when I facilitated in meeting the Indian High Commission,
We have the Sudan High Commission, we have the Brazilian, Colombia, I think they are all around here. So when I approached them, they raised some amount for such project, but we did not meet the target. So we had to bring in AMA to facilitate. Based on that, through the interview, I explained all those things to them and they said that no, then this young man is very vibrant and he's doing a good job. So why don't we give him the nod? So we were 3 in number. Little did I know that I would be the winner. Then in 2013, somewhere in September, my name was mentioned and there I had an award honored by Institute of Local Government Studies. Then AMA also then approved of it. So that is how I became part of the nominees and I won for 2013.
Horatio Bruce of the Mpinsin electoral area of the Sekondi-Takoradi Metropolitan Assembly also won the 2014 awards. Typically, his day starts with a brush-up, showering, and breakfast with his children. On his motorbike, Bruce visits his community folks and inspects projects.
So we were at an assembly meeting that they came, and the proceedings was going on. The presiding members told that we have a visitor, so they want to do something small and leave, so that we can continue the assembly, the section. And they give them the platform. Well, lo and behold, my name was called as the best assembly member for 2014. Well, I say, thanks be to God. Then, who would never like such an opportunity? So I grabbed it and they asked me to talk about it. And I give much credit to my community because they voted me there. If it wasn't their vote, I wouldn't be in the assembly. So I appreciate it.
Interestingly, since inception of the award scheme, only one woman has won. Elizabeth Adomako is assembly member for Kokomlemle West of the AMA. She has lobbied for scores of projects for her community. Notable among her works is the generation of Kokomlemle West Town map, rehabilitation toilet facility, and the building of a waste transfer point.
They ask of things that I've done within my community during my tenure of office. So I really put all those things down. And when I was going to the interview, I went with pictures to that effect as an evidence of what I have done, and just showed them and went through a small interview. And you see, I came home, I slept on my bed. I said, God, I just want to appreciate you. This is the doing of the Lord, and actually it was marvelous in my sight. I never dreamt of it. But one thing that really came to my mind is that, yes, God is faithful. The Bible says in Colossians 3:23 that whatever you do, do it wholeheartedly as you are doing it unto the Lord.
The second objective of the IncluCity project, increasing capacity of the Metropolitan Assembly to generate revenue, has seen enormous achievement. Revenue improvement action plans were first drawn up. This included activities such as automation of revenue collection, development of database management systems, and capacity building for revenue personnel.
One of the major things I would say IncluCity has contributed in the revenue generation is the revenue improvement plan. Hitherto, we had plans and programs that we make, but it's not written like you have a booklet to say this is where I've written my plans, etc. But with IncluCity, they brought in consultants to help us draw up a real revenue improvement action plan, in addition to having a whole program on strategies for the revenue collection. This has been a very helpful thing because you realize that we don't prepare the plan just with the technical people. We take all the various category of people who are involved in revenue collection and revenue activities, and then we also bring in the assembly members, the chairpersons of finances and administration. We bring in revenue mobilization, etc. So that is not something that is just for the technical people, but it's also for the assembly, and therefore the whole assembly owns that program.
Revenue personnel of AMA and STMA have also been trained under the IncluCity project and are well placed to increase the revenue of both assemblies.
With a training program, yes, at least it gives the collectors an opportunity to refresh whatever they've learned. And then it's a platform for us to understand them much better. And then it's also a platform for us to, sometimes if you are in the head office or you are occupying a seat, you think you know it all, but when you meet with them in an interactive environment like that, you learn to know what they need, what are really the challenges, and it helps you to also strategize. So to me, I think it has helped.
To involve the citizens in revenue mobilization, revenue pay points have been established at both AMA and STMA. The pay points have brought the assemblies closer to the people. Revenue officers man these points.
Assembly, STMA, and I was about to get a manager, collect revenues, send assembly levies, property wage, business operating license, or any levy for the assembly.
In 2012-2013, they came to our aid to supply us with pay points, which are stationed at vantage points. So ours, Ablekumasat, our pay point is at Karikari Park. That is where we are stationing ours. So people are living around Last Stop, Begbeisem, Poise, and other things, comes there to do their payments, and it's easily for them to do it over there.
The Revenue Improvement Project continues to help the AMA in its revenue collection.
That if you take 2010, 2011, when even we had Lejikuku and La with us, we were around 10 million, 11 million. But last 2 years, we collected 26 million as revenue. And then in 2014, we collected 33 million at revenue. And it shows that we have tripled revenue over the past 3, 4 years. I may not attribute it fully to the revenue improvement plan, but it's a major contributory factor because now you have plans to follow. So it's very, very important for us to have these plans to guide us into doing what we are doing.
Revenue improvement does not only come with collection points at the doorstep of the people. It also goes hand in hand with a proper addressing system of communities as well as rating all properties. The Sekondi-Takoradi Assembly has grossly benefited from the IncluCity mapping, addressing and street naming scheme. All streets and properties have been named and numbered at STMA.
We did a field survey and ensured that every property in the metropolis was counted, and we had the various data for it. And currently, at the end of the exercise, we had around 43,000 properties from the metropolis, and then around 3,500 accesses have been identified.
Community folks were vigorously involved in the street naming exercise, as some of the names have links to people who have impacted and contributed to the development of these areas. Residents are happy they can now identify houses, streets, and businesses without so much hassle.
Once you have street names, directing yourself to wherever you want to go will be quite easy. I think, as we know, in Ghana, most of our streets don't really have names. And as a result, when you're asking somebody for directions, it becomes difficult. You may have to ask about 3 or 4 people before you get to your destination. So once the streets have names, it will be easier to get to your destination. You just ask, they give you the name of the street, and you are there.
The street naming exercise was very beneficial
in the sense that formerly, before we had the street names, it was difficult to locate your house. If, for example, you want to tell somebody where you stay, without a street name, it's not easy to tell the person exactly where he or she can find your house. And then secondly, in terms of transportation, if you are in a vehicle and you want to alight at a particular spot, the street names help you to tell the driver exactly where you want to alight.
The Town and Country Planning Department developed the Land Use Planning and Management Information System, LUPMIS, for the proper use of land and development. LUPMIS lacked the IGF model, which is linked to property tax. Global Communities through IncluCity worked with Town and Country Planning to test the efficacy of the LUPMIS improvement system at STMA. This has seen a major boost to property tax collection.
Our distribution has been done haphazardly, but with the incorporation of the LUPMIS, we try to locate them by special addressing system, and that is by numbering those houses and then the businesses, and then together we can get this on a clear-cut map, which can aid, if personnel are well trained, can aid them in the distribution.
The STMA property manager incorporated into LUPMIS has improved property tax collection.
Go into the data and then you identify a parcel, you identify the owner, you identify the value of the property, and you can also know the amount of, let's say, property that each such a person should pay.
Roughly for property rate, we're around 450,000, 500,000 Ghana cedis. Yeah, currently we are around 700,000, and we've projected to have 1 million and over for 2015.
Engaging citizens in governance through participatory processes does not only revolve around the provision of amenities based on needs alone. It requires consistent interactions between city authorities and the citizens. Community Notice Board provided under the IncluCity project has given community folks a chance to be abreast with happenings at the assembly and their duties as citizens. These notice boards have been provided in all 59 communities IncluCity operated.
We do print educational materials, and sometimes we have to send it to community, and you find it difficult to display them. So they came in handy, to enhance, our communication processes by, pasting some of these materials on the notice board.
The Sekondi-Takoradi Metropolitan Assembly has made immense progress with assistance from IncluCity project in establishing a toll-free number client service unit. Sandra is a client service officer.
Yes, this is STMA. How may I help you, madam? I liaise between the assembly and the general public, so we take care of any complaints and inquiries within the metropolis.
IncluCity also instituted the City-to-City Exchange project, which aimed at allowing 5 metropolitan assemblies in Ghana share ideas based on best practices.
We organized a yearly city-to-city exchange of visits, where we assemble all the metropolis in one metropolis, and then they meet, they discuss, they do field visits, and then share experiences.
Notably, the 4-year IncluCity project, funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation with $4 million, implemented and managed by Global Communities Ghana, has improved the lives of over 1 million people living in urban slums and other urban poor communities. It has also strengthened citizen engagement with city authorities, thereby improving participation in the governance process. Capacity of CBOs in these communities have been built, thereby empowering them to do more for their various communities, while the Metropolitan Assemblies, AMA and SDMA, improve their revenue base.